Hi friends, this is the second part of the video series in which we are going to create 2D games for ourselves. In this video we will be going to create a new project inside our WebStorm text editor, and I will call it my first game. Okay, and click OK. Okay, now that we have created our new project inside our WebStorm text editor, we will be adding two new files in it. The first one will be the index file, index.html, and the second one will be JavaScript file, which I'll call main. Okay. Whatever the code we will be doing for our game, we will be doing it inside our main.js, which will be a JavaScript code, and we will be using phaser libraries in it. Okay, so now the next thing which we will be going to do in here, that we will be adding two phaser files in our game, because we will be using them in our game. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and inside your phaser which you have downloaded, under examples, phaser example master labs JS, and copy these two files, phaser and phaser.main. Copy them and put them inside your WebStorm projects folder and under my first game. Okay, now we have created one index.html file, one main.js file, and two files copied from phaser game framework. In this video part, we will be loading an image inside our game. So let's wait for a moment, because WebStorm is updating those files in its hierarchy in here, because we have pasted them and it is now updating them. Come on, it takes some time to update. Okay, now it's updated. Now let's go ahead and in our title window, let's call it load an image. Script source equals phaser.min, and script source equals phaser.js, and inside our body we will be adding our script source equals main.js. okay, so what I did in here, I have given my game a title, and I have added those two JavaScript files which we copied from phaser game framework, and I pasted it inside my game folder, and I have included my main.js file inside my body tag. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start writing our code. The first thing to start writing a game for us, we need a phaser game object. So let's go ahead and call it game equals new phaser.game, and inside this this function will create a phaser game object which will be handling our game, okay, which we will be using for handling our inputs and several things. Okay, so the first argument it takes is the height, and the second argument it takes is the width. So what this phasor.game function will do, well, this function is pretty much built into these two files. I don't know in this one or this one, but this phasor.game object is defined inside these two JavaScript files. What it does, it creates 800 height and 600 width, a canvas in which we will build our game. What canvas is basically an HTML5 tag which is used to draw things in it. So well, we draw several things in it, we can load images in it, and that's what we are going to do in this video part. So that the next argument this phasor.game object takes is whether it will be using canvas render or WebGL renderer. If your browser supports WebGL renderer, it will take that renderer for rendering its games, and if it's not supported by your browser, it will take the canvas renderer. Okay, so I'm using phasor.auto to tell user, if you have WebGL supported, take it. If not, I use a canvas renderer. The next argument it takes is the canvas name. We can also write a name in it. And the next argument it takes is the object of three functions. Okay, we are basically telling that phasor that which function you will be using to load, which function which you will use to load your game assets for your game. Okay, so in this preload is a key in which we are telling phasor that this will be our function which you will be using for preloading things for our game, and this will be the function which you will be using to create things, set up world and lots of things for our game. In the next function, which is update function, this function you will be using to call it again and again, which will ultimately run our game. Okay, so let's go ahead and write these three functions in it, and then we will talk more about them. So the first function is, we tell phasor that it will be our preload function in which we will be loading our game assets. Okay, so quickly let's go ahead and put some image in, and let's go ahead and create a new directory inside our first game and call it assets. And inside our assets, let's go ahead and put some image in it which we will be loading. Let's go ahead and put this image, copy and paste. Let's rename it, let's call it phasor. It's a JPEG file. Okay, so now we are telling phasor game object that load image, and we are calling this this image, we are giving it a name like phasor. This should be a unique name to identify that image. And the second thing is the location of that image. Okay, so that is phaser.jpg. so here you can see under assets we have phaser.jpg file, which is an image, and we are loading that image inside our game. So whatever game assets we load them inside our preload function, which is this one. We are telling our phaser game object that we will be preloading things inside our preload function, which we have written in here, and that function we have created in here, and we are loading things inside it. Okay, then the second function we'll be going to create is the create function itself. The create function is used to create or set up our world for our game. Like if you're planning to make 2D game which has some mountains in behind the scenes and some roads in front of those mountains, you will be loading those images of those mountains and roads inside this preload function, and once they are loaded into your game, you will be adding those images into your game scene inside your create function. So let's go ahead and game.add.sprite and give it a location like 0 0. 0 0 means that we are loading this image we are loading this image which we have loaded in our preload function, and once it's loaded we can use it in our game. So we have added this image at x0 and y0 position of the canvas inside our game. So let's save it, and let's go ahead and check whether it has loaded our image or not. Okay, we have some error. Let me see what error we have. Console. I think there is no error in it, but game.add.sprite. Let me call it image. Let me see if it works or not. It says update is not defined. Okay, we have to define update function as well. So here you go, which has nothing in it. So let's refresh it. Okay. So now we have loaded our first image inside our game by writing only 1, 2, 3 lines. The first line, let me go ahead and recap it. We created a phaser game object. We have given 800 width height and 600 width. Phaser.auto is the renderer which will be used to render the canvas. The second, it's the third and fourth. The fourth argument here is the name of the canvas tag, and this is an argument in which we are telling our phaser game object that the preload function is this one. Okay, So the preload function in which you will be loading things in our game is this one, which we called preload itself. Okay, this will be our function, the preload function in which we will be loading our game assets, and this will be the create function of our game in which we will be creating our world for our game. And the third function, which is update function, which we are not learning it in this part. We'll see in the next part what it means and how it works. So now you have learned how to load an image inside your game. In next part we'll be doing some more things. So see you in the next part.